On this episode of the podcast, we're going to be talking about everything from speakers to 1176 clones, and we're going to be talking to our friend Joe Carrell, so stay tuned. Hey guys, it's Kevin with MixCoach. I'm sitting here with my buddy Joe Carrell. Joe, how you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm good.
Little
Good to
high
see
five
you.
right there.
Yeah, virtual
Don't leave
high
me
five.
hanging, man. Okay. Hey, I wanted to. It's been so long since we've talked on Skype. I know that my interview with you was actually one of my first interviews with MixCoach, and it's been very popular. And I know.
That seems like it was years ago. I
Oh
mean, like
Lord.
probably 5 years ago.
Oh, don't tell me that, man. Time is just flying as it is. I've got a 5-year-old girl, and it's just like doesn't seem possible.
Yeah, man.
But anyway, I wanted to chat with you because I know you've changed rooms. I know that you. Tell me about your room change there.
Yeah, well, last time we spoke, I was working for about 6 years. I worked out of, I built in the basement of my home to be a nice mixed room facility. But to be honest, Kevin, I mean, it was great. There's a lot of pros and cons, as you know, either way. But I just felt like I needed to network, have peers again, because I was mixing all by myself most every day, and I just wanted to see people, I mean, I just needed to change. So I moved into Soundstage on Music Row, which is, any of your guys can look it up. It's a pretty historic studio. Been a lot of neat, stuff done here over the years. So now I have peers again. There's like 3 or 4 of us, mixers that have our private suites here, and then there's 3 large tracking rooms, so I can, walk out in the hallway just about any time of day and talk shop, which is great, because my 4-year-old at home, he didn't know much about compressors or microphones.
So tell me about that because that's interesting to me. I just did a podcast on proximity effect, and it was not about the microphone kind. It was the kind of being around other living, breathing people that and
Yeah.
not just an email address or a Dropbox account.
Right.
So have you seen an upswing in business and
Not yet. It's been right about a year, and I don't. There's been a couple little things I've done. There's a label upstairs, country music label, and I've done a couple, little things. But for the most part, my clientele hasn't changed yet. Now it may. I'm not complaining. I'm staying busy, but a lot of my existing clients really like kind of the Music Row address. You know what I mean? Because maybe they're down here anyway sometimes, so they can stop off, drop off a drive, pick up a drive, come down, and maybe they never drove up to Hendersonville, which I mean it's only 15 minutes north of here, but just to preview a mix or something.
Right.
Now they'll actually come and sit beside me. Just I think maybe because they enjoy, coming down to the row, or like I said,
Yeah.
maybe they got an office down here, or
Yeah.
producers tracking something 2 doors down. He can come over, check on a mix.
Right.
So I've enjoyed it so far.
Yeah.
Obviously there's cons, there's expense involved.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Do you find yourself, are you more productive since you're away? Because that's something that interests me. I mean, I've been in my house, in my home studio, for, I don't know, a long time. Longer than I want to mention right now. 14 years I've been here, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, and at the time we moved here, I didn't have a 5-year-old. And it was a little easier to be productive. Do you find yourself being more productive since you've got a different address to mix in, or?
I do. I think I have because when I'm here, I'm more willing to. I'm not saying I never stop and visit and talk shop, just like we were mentioning earlier. But I'm ready to get home and have dinner if I can make it home for dinner time or see my son before he goes to bed. So I'm more likely to make sure I get it done and get home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're already at home, it's so easy just to run upstairs and cuddle for 10 minutes with your kid or whatever,
Yeah.
and go back to work. I don't know that I'm more productive overall, but I think the block of time that I work in any given day is a little more productive, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, tell me about what you've been working on lately. Well, anything we need to check out that you've been working on?
Yeah, I've been producing a handful of country artists lately, all females, and all really good. Just within the last few months, I did Courtney Day, Dae. You could check her out. Really talented singer-songwriter, writes all her own stuff. Alexandra Lee, I've worked with her before, getting ready to wrap up another record. And actually, what I'm working on right now is Taji Bachman. Tasji. I'll give you a link.
Okay.
Taji
Yeah.
Bachman, um, just turned 17. Gorgeous little girl with crazy outgoing personality that it's like kind of you fall in love with immediately.
Hmm.
Writes all her own stuff, sings well. I mean, she's got everything. So I'm pretty excited about what the future holds for her. iTunes selected her as like the top 15 pre-order CDs.
Oh, cool.
And that's without a label. I expect she'll have a label soon enough.
Does she have a big social media following or something?
It's ramping up. I mean, this is her first project ever, and she's from a little bitty, small, cornfield town, so to speak, up in Illinois. And I'm not making fun because I am too. So, we're building her from the very, ground up, and her EP just went on pre-order, so real early stages. She's probably got, between Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, I don't know, let's say 6,000, something like that. But it's growing every day, because she does those little vines and things, and people see her online and like, oh my gosh, this girl's beautiful. Wow, she can sing great too. And the next thing you know, they're following her on something.
Yeah. So did you cut the tracks there at Soundstage?
Yeah, we did everything. We did the tracks next door at I say next door, same building, but the studio next to mine is one of the large tracking rooms. And we did all the tracks there, did all her vocals and background vocals and stuff here. And yeah, really, really proud of it. I'll you guys, if they like, the pop country, modern country type thing, they'll probably dig her because she's really good at it.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Cool. Yeah. Well, we'll check her out. Send me the links and I'll put them in the show notes underneath this little video.
I'd love to.
Yeah. So, any epiphanies you've had lately about mixing? I know that sometimes we cycle around and sometimes we relearn things, like I have lately. But
You know what? Yeah, I'll give you kind of two things that have changed for me lately. One of them is something I go back to, and it seems like it's always summertime. I don't know why. Maybe some of your guys will find this handy. Those of us who do this for a living, it's amazing how little we get to listen to music for enjoyment. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. It's like you just, when you do get in the car, sometimes it's the last thing you want to do because your ears are exhausted from, 10, 12, 16 hours of mixing. But lately, and again, I go off and on, sometimes when you just need some infusion of energy and passion, for what we do, I've been going back to some of the tunes that inspired me when I was young. And looking them up and finding, I've got a hard drive just full of MP3s of stuff I've, accumulated over, well, quite a few years. And, I can turn on like a Steely Dan track or something like that was just, audio nirvana. I mean, just, beautiful, and listen and just get, kind of inspired again, something. Maybe it's, I'm a musician first and foremost, or I was at least prior to doing this. Listen to some old tracks that I just loved, this particular drummer, guitar player, and do that for just 5 minutes before you start your work day. It's amazing how much it can pump you up. It's like, I'm ready to work.
I heard an interview with Tom Lord Alge, and that's one of the things he said he did. He said he listened to Back in Black, AC/DC. He listened to the whole song and then he was ready to hit it.
Exactly. It's amazing. I mean, we just get in a. It's not like I'm referencing it for sound. It's just a little energy, to bring into the
like
room. But
remembering why you got into this.
I mean the song. Yeah. Exactly, the songs that inspired me to want to this was my dream career. Secondly, I guess I've started. I've been. Like I started, out of the box, then moved to in the box. And I've always done a hybrid thing to a point, off and on, depending on the budget of the project. But I've been doing a lot of external stereo bus stuff lately, and that's kind of fun. I mean, not only does it sound great, but just anything you can do to change it up a little bit and
So
inspire you in a different way.
your stereo bus stuff. Tell me what you're using.
Currently, I'm using. I have a SSL bus compressor, which most of you guys probably that's what they use on their stereo bus, in the box or out of the box. But I've got one. It's actually made of the same components. It's made by Rhodes Audio here in
Oh
Nashville.
yeah.
That it's great, and it's got the side chain, so maybe I can filter to where everything below 150 cycles isn't pumping the compressor. So if you want the kick drum to cut through a certain way or whatever, I got that first in line. Then I have a stereo pair of Pultecs. Not the $4,000 vintage. I mean that's the dream, right? But there's a company you may have heard of them or seen them in Mix magazine or something. Warm Audio.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, WARM, like warm. They have been making some recreations of some stuff. 1176, an API 312 circuit, which is one of all of our favorite preamps. Anyway, they just came out, I don't know, a handful of months ago with with their recreation of a Pultec, and I've used them a million times in the studio, so I know exactly what they do, and these things are spot on. It's fantastic to think that I can I can have my dream stereo bus for less than what I could have bought one vintage Pultec. And I can have two of those and my SSL bus compressor.
Right.
That's pretty killer, man.
Yeah. So are you using don't they have an 1176?
Yes, I have kind of, I always tell guys, in some of the interviews I've done, don't be a gear, junkie if you can avoid it. But I have bought three of them, three of their 1176s. Yeah. But, on tracking, I do a lot of tracking. It's not, it's not just mixing, there's a few days a month, or more that I will track, and you never know what studio you'll find yourself in, how well equipped they are or are not. So, I don't know, you've been there, Kevin. You go into rooms sometimes, and maybe it's a budget-oriented room or whatever, and you're like, ugh, it's just like, wow, this is all I have to work with, So I tried to over the years build up my collection to where I have some of those key ingredients that maybe not every room has or don't have enough of.
Yeah.
So I got three of the 1176s, that I can. It's one of my all-time favorites for like lead vocals. I love running them like on electric guitar, and not even using any compression on a tracking date, just using the makeup gain of the output transformer. Just passing through the circuit sounds amazing. And again, I mean, not to sound like a commercial, but these Warm Audio 1176s, it's a real 1176 circuit. It doesn't just look like one; it sounds fantastic. So I can have a real working 1176 for well under half of what I could just a couple years ago, which is amazing to me.
What do they retail for? Do you know offhand?
Oh gosh, I think I want to say 600.
Wow.
I bought mine several months ago, so I've kind of forgotten, but I've loved having them. I put off that purchase for years, just using whatever was in whatever room I was working in, because I mean it's $2,000 for a mono channel. I mean that's just, as great as they are, that's just crazy. It's hard to justify that as a, when we do this, your guys out, some of those guys probably think we have, just everything we could want, and we don't. I mean, most of our living, just like theirs, goes to paying for our mortgage or whatever, so we add gear as we can over the years, and so that's one of the things that's really drawn me, like to this Rhodes Audio piece and the Warm and a few other things, is, there's companies that's making it so much more affordable for working pros like you and I to have that stuff we always wanted, but just hardly couldn't justify. Maybe we got one magic piece a year. You remember that? Before tax time. Okay, I'm going to get that one preamp or that one compressor.
Yeah.
I've always wanted. And year after year, you slowly build up. But man, now there's a couple of these brands that are making just killer gear.
Yeah.
For a fraction of the price, so maybe before tax time we can buy two or.
I just did that too. I bought some barefoot.
I seen those, man. Congratulations.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I went to John Mayfield the mastering engineer I've been telling you about, and I'm sure you know who he is, but he has a set of PMCs in his studio, and I think he told me they were well over $100,000. And honestly, when you go in there and you listen to when I listen to my mix, and maybe you don't have the same problem, but it's just almost humbling. It's very humbling when you go in there and you listen to it on a set of monitors like that. Like, if I could have just heard that on my little NS10s or my Event 2020s, I know I could have fixed that. I could have repaired that. So, kind of left me on a quest to find some monitors that were that quality, but not quite that price. Now, those Barefoots are not cheap, but they're not $100,000 either.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's really you know how sometimes you just need to. Sometimes you can buy a piece of gear or even borrow a piece of gear, and then like listening to the song, it just kind of energizes you again.
Yes,
these monitors have done that for me.
Yeah, and you know it can be done so cheaply. Sometimes it's a a Waves plugin that you find on their super weekend deals for $49, and maybe it's it's not that groundbreaking or whatever, but every once in a while you just need something just to make just make it a little bit of fun again. And I'm not endorsing becoming an ultimate gear. I hate to use the word gear slug, but I'm sorry if that offends anybody. That's just a term we use here. But because you don't have to have every plug-in that comes out. Like 1176s. Holy cow! There's probably 6 different versions of it inside of Pro Tools you can get. And do we need all 6? No. That's not what I'm getting at. But occasionally having getting something new is a lot of fun. And then again, this is how we make our living. Those Barefoots, they're a lot of money, but if you felt like you really needed an upgrade, to what you was hearing, man, this is how you pay your bills. Do it. Go for it.
Well, it didn't make them any easier to buy, for sure.
Still making payments.
I'm still justifying them right now.
I know. I'm still making payments on my HDX upgrade that I did a couple years ago. Trust me, I get it.
Yeah. Well, Joe, I know you're busy. Thanks for taking out some time. I wanted to mention to the guys that we're going to be hanging out with you at Soundstage in September. My guys, we're having a MixCoach Experience Weekend for you guys who are not familiar with it. This is the second year, so is it second annual or first annual?
Man, I don't know. This is the first one that I'm going to be to.
Well, no, I'm talking about when you say first annual. It's inaugural and first annual, I guess.
Oh.
But so it's the second year we've done it. Last year was it was a big success. We just take a small group of guys, we get together, we talk mixing because we talked about this briefly. There's nothing really that can take the place of just hanging out with your peeps, and that's what we're doing. So we're going to Joe's in September. So if you guys are interested in coming and hanging out with Joe, we're going to hang out with John Mayfield, some of the artists scheduled to appear, and we're just going to have a great time. It was such a big success last year and so much fun that we decided to do it again. So Joe, thank you for your time today, and also thank you for your time coming up in September. Really looking forward to hanging out with you and learning some stuff from you, and maybe even a little tour if we have time, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll try to get into some of these big grand rooms and let them kind of see where some of the big country hits are cutting nowadays.
Okay, all right. Well, Joe, hey, thanks again for your time, man. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in September.
Same here.
All right, see you, man.
Take care, Kevin. Bye.